All right. Hello, everybody. So, thank you for the intro. My name is Jesse, and in this talk, I am going to show you 75 tactics, 75 things you guys can do to drive users to your startup without spending a penny on marketing. So each one of these tactics, these aren't like up in the air. These are very specific, exactly what you can do. So he gave a little bit of intro about me, but just to give you guys a little more context, I bootstrapped an e-commerce site. I had $50 in my bank account, 50, and I bootstrapped it to over $50,000 a month in revenue using the tactics you're about to see. And every single one of these tactics is a tactic that in one way or another I tested out. After the e-commerce site, I built a digital agency and ultimately built digital marketing software. And some of the brands that I've worked for are up here: Nissan, Walmart, Amazon, Microsoft, lots and lots and lots of big brands. So, without further ado, 75 ways. But first, if you are a B2B company, this means if you sell software to businesses, you should not be thinking about user acquisition in the ways that I'm about to explain. There is an entirely different tactic that you should be doing if you're a B2B company, and it's called customer development. Customer development. B2B is not the same type of sale as consumers. This is not get your brand known and get people to sign up to your website. In B2B marketing, it's very relationship-based. And I'm about to go into the tactics in a second, but I want to preface this because it is one of the most common mistakes I see. Let me give you an example of what customer development is, and then I'll jump into the tactics. Customer development is about building relationships with your potential customers. And you can literally do this with an outreach email. In this case, it's a LinkedIn cold outreach email to a marketing director at Walmart, which, by the way, Walmart ended up being one of our customers. Here's another just cold outreach email to a marketing director at Rackspace. And you send an outreach email, and you say something like this. You say, "Thank you for your time. My name is Jesse. I'm working on NeoReach, and we're working on a solution that helps companies like yours do marketing. I do not want to sell you anything, but it would be great to get your feedback so that when our product is ready to launch, it'll best meet the needs of your company." So you don't sell them, you message them, you tell them you're not selling, and you get their feedback. If you do this enough, before you launch your B2B product, you'll have built up a breadth of relationships. And feel free to take a picture of this. Here's some questions you can ask them about their problems to help extract value. Can you tell me about what you're responsible for? How do you measure success? What do you do in your role? And then, a few months later, you can go back to them and you know exactly what they do, what their problems are, what they do in their role. You basically know how to sell them. And so, when you're talking to them, you can articulate a potential solution. You can wait for their feedback. You can ask them if they'd like it. You can ask them if anybody else is doing this. You can ask them who owns the budget for a solution like this. So that's it. I just wanted to preface this for B2B companies because I see a ton of B2B products say we're going to sell to big brands, we're going to sell to Fortune 500s, and they don't realize that you have to take a different approach. You have to message actual people. You have to do outreach. You have to listen to their problems. You have to build a lot of relationships. So B2B companies, take note. Now, on to the actual presentation. 75 free launch tactics. This is going to be super fast-paced, so take notes or write down the URL of any one that you find interesting. So, without further ado, here we go. Number 1, post your startup on Reddit's r/startup community. I know the CEO of Reddit was speaking here yesterday, so this is a fitting number 1. This community has about 85,000 or so readers. It is very active, and if you are active on Reddit, it helps even more. These are people looking to be early adopters. They're looking to give you feedback. They're looking to tell their friends about your startup. All it takes is posting once on there, and boom, within 5 minutes, you've got users signing up to your product. Number 2, A private Slack community. There are hundreds of private Slack groups out there with hundreds of people in them. These are chat rooms. These are communities. When you are on one of these groups, you have the ability to tap into hundreds of live, real-time people interested in whatever it is that you're building. So there's a website. I love it. It's called Slacklist. It lets you find Slack communities to join and find communities to become a part of. I do want to caveat, though, do not spam these communities. They do not like that. So become a part of the community and engage with them as you would any community. Number 3, Startup List. This is a website and community of early adopters. I've posted on here and had friends post on here, and you'll get 20 to 100 or more signups in like a day. So it's really easy. It's totally free. There is a waiting period, but if you pay a little bit of money, I think it's like $50, you go right to the front of the line. They'll post you the next day. So it's just really huge. Just post, and you're on there. Number 4. Here is such a simple one that I've looked at so many landing pages, so many startups, they don't do this. Put social share buttons on your landing page. Encourage people to share. You would be surprised at the number of shares you actually get. Better yet, give them early access or something for free if they share. People love getting early access. They love being exclusive. So if you tweet this out and you'll get a sign up before everyone else, huge way to just get mass viral engagement. Number 5, throw a launch party. This is fun if you have friends, if you're doing something that needs a community, needs a lot of people on at once, like a social site or something. This is a great way to do that. You can get 20 to 50 people, but it's really good to get real-time feedback. You can see people using your app, using your product. It's fun. It doesn't cost that much money. And you can also just have a good time. This is an example of we sell to big brands and help them manage influencers. So we had a party in New York City for all the influencers to come and test out, and it worked fantastic. Thousands of people showed up. Stumble Upon. This is another submission site. All you have to do is submit your link, and people stumble upon it. People use the Stumble Upon toolbar to find random websites. Well, you submit it as a random tech app, and guess what? People start coming. Number 7, if you haven't heard of Product Hunt, you should. Product Hunt will get you hundreds to thousands of signups literally overnight. You post on Product Hunt, and people upvote it, kind of like Reddit. The top ones go to the top. There's a catch, though. The list resets every day at 12:01 PST. So you have to post at 12:01 PST. That way you're the first one on the list, and it starts accruing upvotes. There's one more catch. If you don't have a whitelisted submitter, sometimes it won't get to the home page. It won't get shown. But you have to message somebody that's submitted before to get you to submit, and you'll go right to the home page. And it's great. Like over 1,000 signups is totally possible in Product Hunt. Number 8, Hacker News. Kind of like Reddit, Hacker News is another community. It's built by the guys that run Y Combinator, and they have a community of people that love to test out early products. They're pretty harsh on early products, but they'll give you some really good and really telling feedback. And it's free. You'll get hundreds of signups. Number 9, Crunchbase. This is ran by the same people that run TechCrunch. You've probably Googled a startup and found their Crunchbase page. Anybody can add anything to the Crunchbase page. You should really do this anyway, because if you're looking to raise investment dollars, one of the first things investors will do is your startup name, Crunchbase. So it's really free. It's really simple. Number 10, Growth Hackers. This is another community of startup people, marketing people that love to talk about products and startups. So you can share anything. They'll give you feedback. It helps if you share some sort of data or insight or something you've learned to help out the community. Number 11, blog comments. TechCrunch and these big tech blogs get thousands of readers on any given page. And I scroll down to the bottom, and I always read the comments, and there's like 1 or 2 or 3 comments there. As it turns out, people aren't super active at commenting. And if you comment, it almost becomes an extension of that news article. or blog posts. So if you find a blog post that is relevant to yours, I'm not saying spam, but you could make a connection that's relevant to your startup, and suddenly all of the marketing exposure that came from that TechCrunch article just trickles into yours. These become ongoing sources of just ways to drive visitors to your website. Show HN, this is another part of the Hacker News community. I mentioned it earlier. This is specifically about showing something you've built. It's really a community of developers, so if you talk about how you built it, why you built it, your tech stack, you'll get some great engagement. Number 13, host a meetup. Host a meetup, or speak at a meetup. This is a really good way, kind of like a launch party, a really good way to get people in person, using your app, talking about your app. You can film yourself speaking, and it looks good. You can post that online. It builds your brand. Meetups are an in-person community, so you can easily get 10, 20, 30 signups per meetup that you attend. If you speak, you'll get even more. It's also really good for your personal brand. If you become a speaker at meetups, you'll probably get invited to speak at other meetups, and you can start networking with investors, customers, whatever you're looking for that way. And like I'm doing now, speaking gigs are another one. You know, it is not very hard to get a speaking gig. And it might seem hard, but when you start a startup, you are now a de facto expert in that space. People consider you an expert because you're the founder of a company that does the thing your startup does. So go find a conference, a speaking gig, an event that is in your niche, and explain to the coordinator that you're an expert. Or better yet, get an intro to the coordinator that says you're an expert. And you'd be surprised. It's really not hard to network with conferences. I mean, they need speakers, and a lot of times they'll even pay for your flight, pay for your hotel. So networking with conferences is a really good way to get in front of, I mean, I'm looking at 200 people right now. So they'll help it, gain exposure that way. Hosting a webinar. Hosting a webinar. This is towards more enterprisey. So kind of like the customer development that I talked about in the beginning. This is a way to build relationships with a lot of people at once. So you can host a webinar. You can send it out to people that have maybe inquired but aren't customers yet. Also, in the zone of teaching things is Skillshare. Skillshare is a website that lets you teach a class or teach a particular skill. And there's a lot of people that go on Skillshare to learn things. So if your startup helps do something, helps make somebody's life easier, you can teach a class on that on Skillshare, and guess what you're going to feature in your Skillshare class? Bingo, your startup. General Assembly is another one, just like Skillshare. Teach online classes. This one's a little bigger of a community, also a little bit harder to get featured as an instructor on it. But same thing. You can teach a class about your startup or your niche. Boom, users. 18, podcasts. Podcasts, I'm sure a lot of you guys listen to podcasts. There's podcasts on everything. Startups, marketing, social apps. There's podcasts on everything. You can start a podcast. You can message a podcast coordinator as an expert in your space to get featured in their podcast. And suddenly you've got thousands of people that have just listened to whatever it is that you're talking about. So again, not hard. Just takes a little bit of emailing. Getting an influencer to tweet out your product. I'm familiar with this because this is the type of software we build, but I promise you don't need to use software or a marketplace to get an influencer to tweet out your product. All it takes, this is a common theme, outreach. You outreach to an influencer, you get one of them to agree to promote your product. Ask for their feedback, get them involved, tell them that you've been following them, build a relationship with them. This is a real tweet for this energy drink company, and 5,000 retweets. That's like hundreds of thousands of views and many thousands of clicks. And so all you have to do is just find an influencer, tweet at them or email them, convince them to post. If you pay them, it's easier, but you can still do it for free. Okay, here's a really good one. Guest posts. Guest posts. There are news sites in every industry. There are articles that people read on these news sites, and people have to write them. Well, guess what? Writers are very lazy. They do not like to write, and so they accept guest posts. They accept experts, which you are because you own a company in this space, to write guest articles. So this is one we wrote on Adweek, which is like the best site in our industry, I just messaged the editor and said, hey, I've got a guest post, can you feature it? And it got like, this is outdated, but it's now up to like 1,000 shares. And if you Google influencer marketing, it's like the second article that comes up, and it drives us to so much exposure. And all I did was wrote an article and messaged the editor and asked him if I could post it. Like, it's literally as good as a press article. Like, we got more leads from this than we did like our VentureBeat like full featured article. And we wrote it. So of course it's going to be great about us. Okay, outreach. You've been hearing me talk a lot about this. And it is the easiest, lowest barrier to entry. Do nothing, spend nothing, and have customers. You can outreach to anybody. You can outreach to a potential brand. You can outreach to a community. You can outreach to an influencer. You can outreach to a professor. You can outreach to a thought leader. You can outreach to journalists. You can outreach to anybody. Basically, you're messaging strangers on the internet that have potential to help you and convincing them to help you. And it works super duper well. You might have to send 10, 20, 50 emails to get 5 or 10 5 responses back. But don't get discouraged if you send 1 or 2 and they don't respond. You got to send a lot. Like literally just like block out a few hours in your calendar and message like a bunch of people, a bunch of press, a bunch of journalists, a bunch of influencers, and you'll get so much back. So much back. Okay, competitor research. Your competitors have already done a lot of the work for you. They've already found out which websites accept guest posts. They've already found out which journalists write about their space. So you can go on this tool. It's called majestic.com, and see every single website that linked to your competitor. So now you can see which journalists wrote about them. You can see which press featured them. You can see where they've submitted their startup. So majestic.com, you put in your competitor's URL, instantly, list of every website that linked to them. Just go through that list and start outreaching. School alumni. A lot of you guys are in school, or you did go to school. There's a great alumni community of people that are willing to help you just by sending them an email. They love helping people who are younger. A lot of them are established, very successful. A lot of them are probably maybe investors or maybe writers or maybe work at a brand that you want to sign up. Just got to message them. Your school also might have an alumni database. So if they do have that, then that's even easier than using something like LinkedIn to find alumni. Customer development. I stressed this in the beginning, and I'm stressing it again now. If you're a B2B customer, you must build relationships ahead of time. You will learn exactly what to build. You will learn who in the industry is the right person to sell to. You'll learn their problems, and it will make your company successful. Press article, this is obvious. Guess what? Press is not a mark of wonderful, amazing, incredible success. It is the mark of a founder who messaged a writer. And anybody can do that. You can take your startup and message a writer. Press covers startups. Go figure. So probably for like a year when I did my first startup, I was like, man, how does everybody get featured on like TechCrunch? Like, how do they do that? And then I realized, like, oh, outreach. That's it. That's all you got to do. And because this seems so daunting to people, it's like 25 part 2. If you pinpoint a new journalist at a new publication, and offer them an exclusive, offer them to be the exclusive launch partner, or offer them something that nobody else has access to, like we have data on blank, or we did a study on blank, or we're looking for one press outlet to cover our launch, and you can help that journalist look good, they'll be more likely to work with you over the long run because they want to make an impression, they want to show that they can get lots of content out, they want to show that they can get good stories. So look for new writers and new contributors. Existing traffic analysis. If you've been launched for a little bit, even just a month, you're getting traffic, hopefully. You can go in Google Analytics, see where you're getting traffic from, and really amp up those sources. Maybe a blogger mentioned you in one of their blog posts. Okay, now go work with that blogger and get a full blog post written about you. Facebook pages. You guys probably follow a lot of these. There's tons of them out there, and they have millions of followers, a lot of them. Well, like anything else, you can message the owners of these Facebook pages, ask them to post for you. Boom, super simple. This one's kind of like, not a lot of people like to do this, but it really is effective. Competitors' followers. Your competitors have followers on Twitter and social media. Guess what? They're users of your competitor, most likely, especially if it's an enterprise app. You can just Now suddenly you have a customer list. You can go follow those same people and wait for them to follow you back. You can message them one by one and convince them on why your product is better. Like, it's super simple. It's like the public customer list of your competitor. A giveaway. If you have an e-commerce product, you can give an influencer or a blogger a free one and say, hey, give this out to your followers. They love that. They love when they can give free things to their followers. And this is a real post as well. This is like, I know the people who ran this, and they got just thousands and thousands of visitors. They got like 20,000 followers after this influencer posted about them. So it's super effective. Giveaways work. They're great. Quora. You guys ever use Quora? Super easy. Answer questions, mention your startup. Reddit. Again, I talked about Reddit are startups, but there's tons of things on Reddit. And the comments get so many views. You can post on anything and get thousands of clicks. This is an article I wrote, kind of like the same presentation, 37 tactics I used to grow my e-commerce site to 50K a month, and it got like 100,000 clicks to my blog. Like, that's insane. But all I did was post on Reddit. Press release. These are free or sometimes paid services to just distribute an article that you write. You know, blank launches in the United States, whatever. Infographics. These are graphics that explain something about your industry. You know, maybe you're Uber, and you do, you know, Uber rates versus taxi rates in various cities. Well, that's cool. That'll get shared. People like that sort of stuff, and suddenly you build exposure. F6S.com. This is a community of accelerators, a community of applications for grants, for free things, for free exposure. You go on here, you can apply to a bunch of different accelerators, a bunch of different grants, and you stay on one website. SlideShare. I just made a slide presentation. I'm probably going to post it on SlideShare. People will Google like free marketing tips. They'll find my SlideShare. Really easy way to just get content out there. Ebook. If you have a complicated product or something in enterprise, write an ebook. People read to learn things. And if you are the writer and you feature your startup, they will learn about your startup. How-to guides, same thing. This is just the easier version of an ebook. You post a blog post, how to do blank, how to, you know, how whoever you're selling to can make their life easier by blank. Whoever you're selling to is going to find that article. Email signatures. You probably email lots of people, friends, like colleagues, like coworkers, customers. Like, post your startup in your email signature, and a lot of people will end up clicking on that. And if you don't believe me, use a bit.ly link and then see how many people click on it. It's a lot. MailChimp. All the people you interact with, put them on a newsletter. Ideally, ask them if you can put them on your newsletter, but put them on a newsletter, keep them up to date about your startup, about what's going on. And if it's top of mind, they'll start telling of other people. Or existing newsletters. There's a lot of communities out there, a lot of newsletters. You're probably on more mailing lists than you hope to be on. Well, you can message those people and get featured on their mailing lists. And again, drip email marketing. This one's a little bit more challenging, but this is about setting up different stages of email. So maybe when somebody signs up to your website, they get one email. After 1 week, they get a different email. After another week, they get a different email. But everybody goes through the same funnel. You can make it a little bit more curated that way. If you haven't launched yet, put a landing page up. It's very important to get your website into Google. It takes a while to get your website into Google. If you put a landing page up, it'll expedite that process. Partnerships. There's surely other companies in your space that are not directly competitive. Partner with them. Ask them to, you know, if you can exchange users or exchange tweets or even just post on each other's blog. Beta list. This is another submission site. Super easy, incredibly easy. You'll get hundreds of signups. It's free. Just post it. Groupon. Lots of startups that have like services or like, you know, like HomeJoy was famous for like leveraging Groupon like crazy. You can run a promotion on Groupon, suddenly tons of users. StackSocial, another promotion site. Cross-promote on other newsletters. Yeah, if you have a newsletter, offer a non-competitive company to be featured on your newsletter if you can get featured on theirs. And if you're not having luck, work with a smaller newsletter. They would love to be featured on your bigger newsletter. Referral programs, getting your existing users to refer their friends. These are great. You guys probably see these all the time. You know, get $20 if you refer an Uber user. You can do it too. Really catchy headlines. You know, get rid of problem once and for all, whatever problem your startup solves. You know, the lazy marketer's way to do marketing. You know, like these are headlines that captivate people, and if you post articles about them, people in your space will find them. Twilighter. This is a little thing that like highlights certain segments of your articles or blog posts with a little tweet button. Like, You may have seen it. You can people click on that, and a tweet goes out, and suddenly your article starts to go viral. Personalized emails, kind of like drip email marketing, you send personalized emails. There's a lot of tools that you can do this, where you import a list of names and emails, and it customizes the emails to go out one by one, and they feel really personal. Kickstarter and crowdfunding. Everyone knows what this is. Maybe it's a good fit for you. Hello bar. This is putting a little bar at the top of your website that is a call to action. Super simple. Getting feedback from your existing customers. You may have customers that are not using your product, or you may have customers that love your product. If you talk to them, they will talk to other people. Again, relationships and outreach is a super prominent theme of this. Super easy. There's a tool out there, not a lot of people know it, that will show you which keywords get the most searches on Google. It's called the Google Keyword Tool. It's part of the AdWords panel. You can put all the keywords in your space and see which ones get searched the most. Then you can create content around those keywords. So find keywords that thousands of people are searching, and suddenly get your website in front of thousands of people. Niche Q&A. Figure out what questions people are asking your niche and answer them. People will Google them, kind of like the last example. They'll find your articles. Getting blogs to link to you. Find a blog that has made a list of, startups like yours. Ask them if they can link to you. Optimizing your keywords. The Google algorithm is very tricky, but one thing is not tricky. Put the keywords in the URL, and your page will have a way higher chance of ranking. Another thing, put the keywords in your H1 and your title tag, and your page will have a way higher chance of ranking. Another thing, submit a sitemap to Google and Webmaster Tools, and your website will have a way higher chance of ranking. So you can see where I'm going with this. Make content promoting you and explaining your industry. Here's an example of one we did. We got a lot of competitors. We're not directly competitive with all of them, but we wrote content explaining the space, and we promoted ourselves. Simple. Do a social giveaway. I'm giving away a free blank on your Twitter. You'll gain a lot of followers that way. Direct message thought leaders, professors, influencers, people that are instructors in your space, people that have a lot of followers. Build a relationship with them. Don't just ask them to, hey, can you tweet my startup? Ask them for help, ask them for advice, and then ask them to tweet your startup. Trade shout-outs with people. This is a super simple one. There's a lot of other startups. There's a lot of other Facebook pages, a lot of other social pages. I will promote you if you promote me. Win-win. Social listening. There's a free tool called mention.com, that will tell you whenever anybody on any social media site mentions a particular keyword. So sure, maybe you can put in the name of your startup, or you could put in the name of a competitor. And now, whenever anyone mentions a competitor, you can be really quick to respond and talk to them about why yours is better. Friends of friends. A lot of people have 1,000 followers on Facebook, and it's really good way. So if you're just looking to get early users, ask 10, 20 of your friends to promote your startup. You'll get in front of a lot of people that way. Here's a fun one. Never launch. Launches help you get big exposure. So if you can prolong it, we're pre-launch, we're closed beta, we're open beta, we're about to do our public launch. This lets you build up and build up and build up a lot of hype. So I've got 8 more, and these ones are, I don't ever post these ones online anywhere. Maybe there'll be a video, but I try to keep these on the DL because they only work in limited quantity. So ideally don't go and spread these ones like crazy, because it's a bit I want to try to keep them working for everyone. These are my best ones. All right. Traffic hijacking. QuickBooks, let's say you're FreshBooks, you're a smaller competitor of QuickBooks, write a post, QuickBooks versus FreshBooks, and suddenly when anybody types in QuickBooks, there's going to be a drop-down menu that says versus FreshBooks, and then all of those users are going to say what's FreshBooks? And then they can read that article. You can siphon so many potential customers away from your competitor this way. Hopefully they don't do it to you. Somebody did it to us. That was okay. Advanced search queries. If you put something in quotes, you can find gold mines. Remember I talked about guest posts earlier? You could put your keyword plus guest blog or guest post by, or guest post by, and find websites that accept guest posts. and message those websites. Like the work to find websites that accept guest posts is done for you. Okay, there is a way to find the email address of anybody. It's like, yeah, we talked a lot about outreach. What if you knew everyone's email address? Reportive has a tool that will verify somebody's email address, and also you can download a spreadsheet that guesses like 50 different combinations. Another one is called emailhunter.co. Like 90% chance you can find the emails of anybody. And speaking of email, if you use this like template, like urgent, whatever you need, time sensitive, your response rate will go through the roof. Like, use it with caution, but if you need somebody to respond, like, if you're like, I must have this guy respond, like, use urgent time sensitive, I assure you. Like, if you had an email on your phone that's like urgent time sensitive, you're gonna be like, oh, I gotta like respond to this. And so it works really great. SEMrush.com, type in the name of your competitor's website, see all the keywords they rank for. Super simple. Industry survey. Hi, thought leader. I'm running a survey on thought leaders in this industry. You available for a quick quote for our study? Everybody loves to be featured in studies. Like, if somebody messaged you guys, you'd be like, oh yeah, I get to be like an expert, and like pitch them up, be like, as an expert in this space, we'd love for you to take part in our survey. Ideally, you can publish the survey, but it's a really good way to like get experts coming to you, and they'll, if you do publish a survey, they're in the survey, and so they'll tweet it out. So like you can message professors this way, like CEOs of giant companies this way, like your potential customers this way, and tell them they're part of your study. And then make the study, and then ask them to tweet it out once it's published. Okay, I've got two more. These ones are really, really, really powerful. I have used them a lot. They are actually two startups, and they're not well known yet, and that's probably why they still work so good, because I don't think they're going to work that good forever. One is called restpress.com. Restpress.com. It's so new. It only came out like 2 months ago that it's not even in Google yet if you search RestPress, but a friend told me about it. And oh my gosh, this is crazy. They will link you up with journalists for totally free, and you directly linked up with real journalists and writers, and you're supposed to only pay them when your article goes live. And so there's a lot of, you can see how this is beneficial. They'll just link you up to journalists for free and do all the work for you, and you can negotiate with them on rates and stuff. It's ran by a few people that are in the PR industry, and they've got a ton of like press connections in the startup space. And like a couple of my friends use them and got like coverage on like TechCrunch and like VentureBeat and like major sites, and you don't have to pay anything. Hopefully you can be like genuine and pay them if your article goes live, but it's really, really good. And it's definitely not going to be this effective in like a year from now, because they're surely going to get diluted because it's relationship based. So I don't think this is a startup that's going to scale very well. But while it's brand new, they want to build a name for themselves, so you can get like just really good press. And then one more, topbloggers.com. This is a community of bloggers. You can post anything in front of thousands of bloggers. You can give them money, you can give them a free product, you can give them nothing, and bloggers will opt in to write about you. Incredibly powerful. I've posted campaigns on here and gotten like 30 bloggers to be like, can I please write about this? And like you can get like really amp it up. You can be like, exclusive. I'm only selecting one blogger to like have access to this data. And it's like just so much coverage really, really quickly. So the last two are probably if I had to like, if you take away like two products that you can use from this talk, restpress.com is one and topbloggers.com are the other. Both startups, both brand new, both crazy, crazy effective. There's one more. But you have to email me for it. So I would love to talk about this one on my talks. I would love to post it online. It is my best one. It is the one I'll tell my personal friends, but I can't. Unlike the other ones, like that are startups looking to get exposure, this is one that really does only work for like a small number of people. And so I'll send it right to you, but like I don't want to get it on video or on line. And so also it's like we've talked a lot about outreach, so start your outreach to me. I will respond to you, and then you'll learn one more tip that is not public. So finally, there's other ways to get a hold of me. Jesse@neoreach.com. That is my email, jesse@neoreach.com. Twitter @jesserank, and my blog, jesseleimgruber.com. Thank you.
All right. Killed it. The bonus one, available by request only. We have time for 2 questions. Do we have any questions? He's got lots of time for questions when you get them at all of his social media. We got one right here.
So great tips. Thanks a lot, Jesse. In terms of how do you focus and structure, all these initiatives and stuff, what are some things that you would recommend for that?
Excellent. That's a really good question. It's really hard to focus, making to-do lists, GTT, there's all these methods. There's one I love to do. If you use Google Calendar, I like to block out time on my calendar in 2-hour increments for one goal. Uninterrupted, no doing email, no doing anything else. Like, block it out. Like, this 2 hours, I'm going to post on top bloggers and set up my campaign. This 2 hours, I'm going to email 10 thought leaders. And just block out time and just make sure you get it done.
In 150 hours, you can be done all 75.
It's true.
Which is pretty good.
I've done all 75. They're great.
Do we have another question? Here we go. Last question for Jesse.
You told everything about digital and email. Do you have anything for offline marketing?
Offline marketing? Well, yeah. There's the meetups. There's messaging any groups that might be offline. There's speaking at conferences. There's affiliate marketing, which you can activate affiliates to do offline marketing for you. But frankly, in my opinion, online marketing scales much better than offline marketing. Maybe I'm biased, but I would try to stick with online if you can.
And yet here he is doing offline marketing. Guys, a big round of applause for Jesse Leimgruber.
Right.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, everybody.